Welcome back to the news, everybody, and it is almost time for Lunar New Year, big festival, extremely important in China, and to celebrate, Blizzard have put in a new mount themed after Lunar New Year for World of Warcraft, and they've also shut World of Warcraft down in China. Ouch.
That's not a joke. They played chicken, and they actually, unlike most times you see someone play chicken, they just crashed straight head on into each other.
Yeah.
And there's some serious, literal physical damage has occurred too.
They are going to break the conditioning, break the pattern for potentially millions of players. I mean, China's humongous country population-wise. A lot of people play WoW. WoW is culturally really big in China, to the point where, like, the Warcraft movie was carried by its performance in China. So this is crazy. You've only got until the 23rd of January to enjoy Blizzard titles in China before support for the region ends. Now, the thing there is, you might say, oh, well, can you just not, like, VPN onto a whatever realm? Well, the thing is, all your characters, like, that you've invested your time into are there. They're not on an oceanic realm, as an example. So this is all rough, and not all is good in paradise. It's far from paradise. So we heard about cracks earlier on, where it turned out that a World of Warcraft mobile MMO, I honestly, when I hear that, I pretty much think like, oh, is this going to be some like hybrid Genshin Warcraft thing? You know how those like mobile pseudo sort of MMO games are? But that was cancelled because they could not come to terms on it, even though it had been worked on by a team of like up to 100 people or something for quite a period of time. And that team got axed. So brutal stuff. Obviously, they're doing Diablo Immortal together, but now with this breaking down, stuff is getting messy. This is to the point where the Netease social media team felt comfortable hosting a live stream for 30,000 people where they destroyed a Blizzard statue outside their Blizzard offices as a part of dismantling the work. And while they did this, they were showcasing the newest drink available at their coffee station, Blizzard Green Tea, which WoW had helpfully explained here, because it's always good to broach the cultural gap and explain why this is noteworthy. And that's because green tea is a modern Chinese slur referring to a manipulative person who tries to appear wholesome, innocent, or traditional, but is decidedly not so, and that is a rather nice way of putting it. This situation is absolutely rough, and if you want to kind of generally understand rough situations more, check out our sponsor. You cannot know what you've never seen. It's a massive problem in today's algorithm world, and it's one that our sponsor ground.news/Bellular solves. I got them on board because their mission aligns with mine. I like what they do. They cut through bullshit, they cut through spin, they cut through bias. They're founded by a NASA engineer. They aggregate news from 50,000 worldwide sources with full bias breakdowns for all outlets, as well as what types of outlets, in terms of political leanings, even cover stories. And that means that you can find your blind spots, which is so valuable. I mean, hell, seeing their front page with the news, along with how it's being covered, is just plain cool. It feels like you're able to get the knowledge and balance of, like, everything. Whenever breaking news happens, I check ground news, because I don't want to be messed around. And honestly, not being messed around by news is more important than ever these days. I mean, in a world where often you learn about something because of a retweet of a reaction to a headline or some biased, factually dubious source, ground.news exists to help you find your footing in the truth, to have a 40,000-foot view of what's actually going on our planet. It's one that takes you out of the reactionary trenches, that empowers you to be a well-informed individual. So ground.news/Bellular to subscribe for unlimited access. They've got an awesome mission. Click that link, support the channel, and also get yourself access to what is, in my opinion, the killer app for news. Welcome back. Thanks for helping us pay the wages. And yeah, wow, Matt, let's dive into this story. This is...
I know Chinese social media is a little bit of a different take to, like, they play by a different set of rules than like Western brands do online. But the prospect of going and destroying the statue and then also calling them, because the green tea slur, I think in Western terms would translate the two-faced. The prospect of calling your old partner company two-faced and wrecking their physical representation that you spent thousands on putting up there, there's no going back.
You trashed the office symbolically on a live stream.
There is absolutely no going back whatsoever. This is the equivalent of you break up with someone, you throw all their stuff out the window onto the drive. That's what it is. It is a, no, we're done. This is messy. We're not happy. We're furious. Don't come knocking on our door again. And for that to happen when you've got two companies that are also, I mean, it's weird that they kind of have Diablo Immortal in the same contract. You imagine maybe if that ever comes to renewal, it might be in jeopardy because it's still Netease social media.
That would make me certainly not want to invest any time. I mean, not that I would put any money into that game anyway, but yeah, I would not want to go near Diablo Immortal just like now with the sort of, I don't know, the grounds of it, like the stability, who knows. Now, this is rough for a lot of the staff too. The around 100 people, large team that maintain various Blizzard services, while they are rapidly being downsized. There's basically going to be like a skeleton crew of like 10 left for a while for some technical support and customer service relating to the switch off, but they do not expect to be there for more than 6 months. So for the other staff, it's either they're laid off or internal transfers. So overall, that does mean no Heroes of the Storm, no StarCraft, no Diablo, no World of Warcraft, no Hearthstone, no Overwatch from the 23rd. This is quite brutal. Now, for the WoW players, they will be able to essentially like download their characters.
Theoretically. Because that tool was, believe Netease talked about that tool, saying it was unilaterally developed by Blizzard, such as it wasn't tested by Netease. There may be security concerns from using it. And if it doesn't work, it's entirely Blizzard's problem, not theirs. And that was prophetic because they rolled that tool out. And I think there's maybe a couple of days left before it goes wrong, before it all goes off, gets deleted. But the tool wasn't working for a lot of users. And that's literally like, if you think about it in the terms of, this is World of Warcraft. That game's been available in China for a long, long, long time. Effectively, your Battle.net account and everything in it will just be deleted if it's not solved in time. The clock is ticking on that for Blizzard to have that sorted. So imagine, I'm trying to save all of my years of work and all of the money I've put in, especially when it comes to if you're buying store months or if you've had a sub for years. Mm-hmm. You've got all your friends lists there. Obviously, you can contact them outside a game if you have stuff like that. But your entire digital life in World of Warcraft, Blizzard haven't bothered to make sure its archival is working. And maybe that's a time crunch. Maybe that was just the big boys of Blizzard, Netease, having a tiff. The engineers going, we can't make this thing happen in time. And it is full, like you said, breaking the conditioning.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting here is that, as we know, notable times where a lot of players from mainland China have played on Taiwanese servers, there ends up being issues. A lot going on between those two countries, very much so, which is normally quite rough. So it seems here Blizzard have actually, they've added a new global category. You can see here, Taiwan Global. So we have global, 2 new realms, 1 retail, 1 classic. So again, not exactly sure what's going to be going on there, if that's supposed to be some sort of off-ramp, but we would imagine that the overall goal would be to restore proper service. Yeah. Now, that being said, restoring proper service in China is not going to be an easy thing to do. It takes time. Now, sometimes there are ways where, you can maybe get some favorable treatment, as they had whenever they moved from the 9 to Netease all those years ago. But, as for right now, major disruption.
Major disruption, and almost no one in the realm, as we'll get into later, to actually take it up. It's not a matter of, we'll do this for the highest bidder. It's a matter of, we had a partnership, and now that's ended. We have to begin exploring additional avenues. So even if this does come back, it'll be a long-ass time away.
Yeah, and to go to the pretty damn brutal war of words that's now going, at least brutal insofar as inter-corporate communications go. So Blizzard China said, we approached Netease again last week for assistance in exploring a 6-month extension of our existing agreement. Now, that is bad. From what we understand, Blizzard decided to pull out. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, it seems like that's how it's been. So they decided to pull out. Now they're asking for an extension. You can read in between those lines, I think.
Yeah.
I think something has obviously went up shit creek.
So back.
They ended up saying, unfortunately, Netease did not accept our proposal to extend the existing game service agreement following last week's extension negotiations. We therefore have to comply with Netease's offer. Therefore, we will have to follow their suspension announcement to discontinue game service in China. So yes, Netease didn't accept that proposal. Later on, Blizzard basically just say, we've started talks with a number of potential partners who share our player-first values. I mean, number one, that's obviously just a bullshit statement. I mean, them talking to partners, yes. But again, something must have fallen through. That's why they've had to come back begging for another 6 months. So they say they'll share new developments in the future. Netease is unwilling to extend the service for 6 months based on the terms of the existing partnership. We will not give up to, do our best for everybody. Now, here's the thing. Netease are not particularly pleased with this statement. Green tea, smashing the statue, etc. So this is machine translated from WeChat. For unknown reasons, last week Blizzard sought Netease again, proposed the so-called, that's always good to hear, game service extension for 6 months and other conditions, and made it clear it would not stop continuing negotiations with other potential partners during the contract extension period. As far as we know, all negotiations between Blizzard and other companies during the same period were based on a 3-year contract period. Considering the unequal, unfair, and other conditions attached to the cooperation, the two parties failed to reach an agreement. I think you can absolutely understand that. If you have to get out of this thing anyway, and then Blizzard's like, okay, no, actually, we want you for another 6 months. While you do that, we will just, by the way, try to negotiate with your competitors. That is obviously going to be untenable for Netease. I think if any of us were in Netease's position, to the crawling back, we would pretty much say, no, fuck off. Yeah. Why would we continue to invest resources and incur opportunity cost by maintaining this service when we know that all we are doing is helping our competitor in 6 months if you get a negotiation, and even if negotiations fail, we're working in something that literally for us is a dead end. That would be so nonsensical for Netease to continue. There is significant value, or there would be significant value that would be delivered to Blizzard by extending that. And if I was in Netease's position there, I would utterly try to price gouge Blizzard.
Yeah,
I mean that's what any sound person with a sound business head would do, because the entire balance of value for the the actual contracted period, with an eye to that continuing onwards, the whole value of balance of value is completely different if you just say extend by 6 months, then we're going to help your competition. It's insane.
Yeah, to keep the analogy of a breakup going, it is just like you're breaking up with someone and be like, you come back a week later and go, hey, yeah, can we still, stay together for a bit while I look for someone new? Because, yeah, I kind of thought I'd find someone new a bit faster.
Yeah,
that is literally on the principle level, that's what it is.
Sorry,
it's just financial instead of,
You want to smash for 6 months while I go out searching?
Yeah, that's
pretty rough.
Yeah, that's more or less what it is. But also there's other elements to it, such as all of the staff and going, hey, staff, we've got you back for 6 months in a dead end. I imagine if they took it to a vote, they would say, yeah, those green tea bastards, get rid of them.
Yeah.
They're literally two-faced in how they're operating.
They call Blizzard's proposal outrageous, inappropriate, and not in line with business logic.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, if it is what Blizzard say, Blizzard just say it's an extension of the existing contract, then yes, that is outrageous, inappropriate, and not in line with business logic, because its excessive self-confidence did not take into account the behavior of this kind of behavior of taking whatever it wants, riding a donkey to find a horse, never leaving the body which places players and Netease.
Yeah, so
just quite flowery, but
I saw it
also machine translated.
I saw a different translation of that. I think was hand translated. That said it was riding a mule to find a horse. So obviously you can imagine what that looks like. But also it was, I think the statement was divorce but wanting to still live together behavior. And I just thought, is that exactly professional language? No. Does it perfectly communicate the point of how Blizzard are just being, I guess, vile? Obviously it's two corporations, so you can kind of go, well, to hell with both of them. But it's still like Blizzard's behavior is just, it's vile. It's, as they say, it's excessive self-confidence. It's just them taking whatever they want, thinking they have the upper hand. Pure arrogance.
Again, this is all if we are to assume that Blizzard just wanted to continue the existing terms by 6 months. Yeah. Which, as we pointed out, makes no sense in terms of opportunity cost. And, that is part of, what is a valuation of a company or anything, is, the expected future return. So if you're going to continue investing in the operations of World of Warcraft, you're not doing that literally for the next monthly paycheck that comes from World of Warcraft. You're doing that because you're investing in a long-term line of business. That does mean that the value proposition of 6 month extension and then it ends is completely different. So yes, if what Blizzard said is the case, then honestly that is completely ridiculous. Now Netease then say that they're concerned that some media have received rumors that Netease wants to control Blizzard's IP. Here we must make a serious correction. As an agency company, Netease has never sought control over IP of Blizzard games or other partners. I mean, as we maybe will be able to talk about, you can emulate that shit anyway, it's fine. But that's what they're saying anyway. Terms of the contract never obtained the consent or approval of Blizzard. IP cooperation with other partners is also based on that principle. So basically there were some rumors floating around that were saying that Netease wanted to renegotiate for some sort of influence over the IP that they would be servicing. Now, they say that that's not true and never would happen. I would say that if that's what they wanted to do, then Blizzard, I think, would be absolutely right in trying to find a new partner because... yes, that would be completely terrible. I don't think anyone would want that. Right, so regarding game progress archive function of World of Warcraft, Blizzard China mentioned, we are obliged to remind all players this was unilaterally proposed, as you said, and developed. It's not been tested and used by Netease, and there are unknown security risks. So basically just, again, them saying, it's all on them. They did, they threw this on us, and I suppose from their point of view, like, why would they help offboard World of Warcraft? They stand only to lose money for like developing the feature and testing it.
Yeah, and Blizzard sure as hell aren't going to pay them for it, like, are they?
Apparently not. Yeah. So it's weird. When the farewell is destined to be the final chapter of the story, Netease still hopes to do its best to accompany the players through the last time and service players to the last moment. From now on, no matter where you are, no matter where you are going, may the wind guide your way and the stars illuminate your direction. Have a happy new year.
Yeah, I know that's that's a language thing, and that's how some of like the, I guess, more flowery Chinese language comes across. Same sometimes in Japanese when they try to be, and it's just so nice. It's wonderful to see. I would love to see like an email from I guess especially one internally, like an email from Bobby Kotick that ends with "May the wind guide your way and may the stars illuminate your direction." That would be amazing.
That'd be the least
fun thing I might start signing everything off like that.
So, who's going to be taking over what's going on? Well, this is per Game Look and translated by Game World Observer. A Chinese insider and famous local WoW player called Dao Lao provided context on who the four companies, may be. Now, this is not going to be surprising to anyone. Nope. It could be Tencent, it could be Perfect World, it could be owners of TikTok ByteDance, or it could be Alibaba Group, right? Alibaba, AliExpress, etc. All pretty big, and I think that group does a hell of a lot more. They're like all truly massive. But ultimately, then each of these companies are offering something different to Activision Blizzard. Tencent seemed to be the more obvious pick because they are like NetEase's main gaming rival. They have, they do have experience managing a bunch of games. They actually have partnerships with Activision for Warzone Mobile. So that's the funny thing. There's NetEase who are running Diablo Immortal with Blizzard, and then Tencent who are running COD Mobile with Activision, and Activision Blizzard's like one company, right? So that's quite funky. Now that being said, have you heard of Tarisland? Man, this was so much fun. I think we just have to go over. This is like just from our live stream doc for tomorrow. So tune in to our live stream over on our Warcraft channel tomorrow. But yes, look at this. It's Tarisland, man. Yeah. Wow, look at this art. It definitely doesn't look like Ardenweald, and this is all very inspired by WoW. Now, the one thing that I would say is Blizzard is generic fantasy, but with a lore that people really like and executed very well. Yes. It's no surprise that, for the longest time, so much of fantasy felt like a Tolkien spin-off or like a Tolkien, obviously very heavy inspiration. World of Warcraft really did expand the genre and solidify it in gaming. So on the one hand, it's not really surprising that a lot of design cues are being, are coming from that direction. You do see that in the West as well. But I think we all know that the willingness to be very, very, very suspiciously similar is quite a bit greater.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of it. You kind of go, okay, well, I'd say in Accord, you could probably argue it as heavy inspiration. And you say, well, World of Warcraft is such a massive cultural context. There's certainly ways where Tencent would maybe like try to reuse shots as they've done a lot of, to pay homage to it, or take similar things and go, oh yeah, well, I guess this is the kind of stuff people like.
Game of Thrones did that.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things where I think, because there's a difference between homage and ripping off. And it's very hard, and this is why it's difficult from a legal perspective as well. It's very hard to put the line between, oh, you're copying this for fun, or you're copying this to try and like take some of its percentage away. And I think Tencent are very good at riding the line where I think a lot of us will go, well, that's clearly bullshit. But if you're playing it, and if you can't play World of Warcraft in China anymore because it doesn't exist there without VPNing to Taiwan and having to get in fights with players there because you don't think they're a country, etc. Or in the same case of maybe you have to like VPN to Europe or America or something, and all of a sudden that's an extra cost. That's worse ping. Imagine just play the competitor.
Yeah. So like if we look at this, the things people are talking about, oh look, it's an Anduin elf. I mean, it's a pretty standard elf and it happens to have blonde hair.
That's where they get
looks weird and plasticky.
Yeah.
Alliance airship,
it
does kind of look like an Alliance airship. That said, the Alliance airship is hardly the most unique design in the universe. We then have, the very obvious thing here with the dragon. I would say that this is more likely just shots being referenced. So, anyone in animation, when they're storyboarding stuff, they might have a mood board. Now, the thing is, if you're concerned about being unique and creative, you'll take inspiration. You'll think like, oh, well, why did this work on a fundamental level and how can I apply those principles? Or you could just basically copy it. Heavy stuff. The dragon riding feature, which again, we could say that, but also Guild Wars 2 has had this sort of thing for far longer. Look, it does all kind of feel sus. But in some other ways, it has a different art style. It has, I think, quite visually pleasing art style, in fairness.
Different game mechanics?
Yeah, different game mechanics. I'm not going to sit here and say, this is, looks incredible and stuff. But actually, if you look at the screenshots, yeah, it does look like it would play pretty smooth, pretty well. Some action combat. That more, what would the right word for that style of shader be? My head's broken, but different art. Yeah, different, weird. I would say similar concept art and similar inspirations. Definitely quite a different feeling end product.
Yeah, a very different end product, which is why you can get the part of, oh, well, here's individual pieces that look taken, and then but you could do that for almost any product if you tried hard enough.
Yeah, well,
which is where it gets weird, where that's why I say it's a difficult line, because you look at the Torn, you go, oh, well, that's Torn and Thunderbluff with a different art style.
So if we look at the gameplay here, to me, it feels like a Guild Warsy, maybe a tiny bit more actiony Guild Wars of World of Craft War.
Yeah.
You look at the UI in PC, and it's this fit right at home here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the funny thing. To be honest, it doesn't look like a bad game. We'll have to see. It's just, obviously the creativity is not particularly humongous. Now that said, this idea of seemingly, you have 6 main buttons. I wonder how that's going to be, how that's going to be playing, etc. Taurusland. I suppose it's them trying to adapt something like World of Warcraft 2 multi-platform. As you'll see from some of the screenshots, like this one, that is tap-friendly controls over there. So, by the way, we're also just in Thunderbluff. And also, here's some Tauren.
Yeah, that's the fun thing where, you go, well, what's Thunderbluff? Oh, it's all, Native American inspired. And you could always argue, well, it's just, we looked to the same place that they did. And then someone goes, no, you didn't. We know you're lying. You go, well, prove it then. You're like, shit. It's the hateful thing about copyright when it's broken in different pieces.
Well, that said, I mean, if you look at this screenshot, telegraphed boss frontals. Is this a bit of Wildstar and FF14 coming into a more WoW style game?
I mean, from the MMO perspective, yeah, but I think if you play any action RPG, especially mobile, you'll notice those have been standard for a long time now. And that's where, even looking at the inventory screen, I see the background, I go, oh yeah, you look at everything's layer, you're like, oh yeah, that's a little bit Genshin-y. Totally. But then you go, well, what isn't Genshin-y? You look at Tower Fantasy and go, that's just Genshin's UI copy pasted. And then you look at development timelines and go, was this a coincidence or was this copied? And then the Tower Fantasy released later, so you go, oh, it's clearly copied. So there's a whole big complicated thing to get through. But I think ultimately, as far as it relates to our story, I think we come to this part of Tencent as one of the potential people that Blizzard will sort out with. Tencent get to go, why would we publish your game?
Yeah,
when we could publish our game, which is your game, but much better adapted to modern trends, modern audiences, our target, with better monetization, all these other things.
And P.S. we know you wanted a mobile World of Warcraft MMORPG. Well, we just did that at the same time as well.
We did it ahead of you, and we're probably more creative and innovative because I think Blizzard trying to make a mobile WoW, it may be closer to the old school World of Warcraft kind of idea, which may not work as well if you're looking for the brand new stuff. This is going to be a bit of a sidebar, but thinking of how the overall like creative market. Traditional fantasy is, at least in the terms of a really big game that stays true to traditional fantasy, it's a little bit getting rarer. So obviously like Lost Ark's an example that does it fairly well, although it does have different almost timeline feeling kind of vibes to different areas in it because they want a wider like freedom. But like Tower of Fantasy, think, Tower of Fantasy game, and then it's just sci-fi. You look at Genshin, and Genshin's like purely fantasy in a way, but it's a little bit less diverse Western fantasy. Obviously it's got Western elements, but it's, it's not the World of Warcraft clearly inspired by Token-esque stuff. It's a little bit more, I guess, other forms of fantasy. And then you look at what, I guess, MiHoYo were doing otherwise, HoYoverse are doing, and it's all just like, it's the Honkai, which is future sci-fi stuff. It's Zen the Zone Zero, which is urban fantasy. And like, there's actually a gap in the market for what World of Warcraft should be doing. But Blizzard, through their greed with Netease, allegedly, seemingly, and their two-faced behavior, have just seeded that entire market in China, that obviously massive market, for the World of Warcraft-like thing.
Yeah.
Over to Tencent, and they're like, you can have it, I guess. And it's all
thing.
because of corporate flubbing it up.
Well, it's like if Tencent were to agree to do World of Warcraft, they would be competing with their own thing.
Yeah.
Which
they do,
sometimes you can do that. You can hedge your bets. Do you want the thing that you're licensing where you're going to have less favorable revenue splits? Like, do you want that to do well? Or do you want your big thing that you own completely to do well? That's like kind of the thing. Now, as for the rest, Perfect World, they do have a lot of MMO experience. Also, they assisted with the development of Steam China. There's then, ByteDance, they actually recently restructured themselves to try to achieve more global ambitions. They've been investing pretty heavily in gaming, though, since their Newverse operation started, which has helped fund things like even Marvel Snap, which is quite interesting. Alibaba Group then, which is kind of funny because in 2008, Jack Ma said he would rather starve to death than live on games. But no, they entered gaming again in like 2017. So who knows, maybe they could slide in there. But overall then, one of the larger concerns is that Blizzard games may have to seek reapproval under China's policy for releasing video games. Now, before Christmas, we may have been worried about that. But they've actually started to approve a lot more games. I think there's, 88 licenses for video games approved in China. Also, I believe that they were able to get an accelerated approval or whatever it was when we were going from the 9 to Netease, way back years ago. Overall, then, that's where we are. It's quite crazy. Now, Diablo Immortal is still, being ran, right? That's still going pretty good. What is weird to me, though, Netease's stock took a little bit of a dip, not much to Blizzard. Now, per some reporting, this is from Blizz, China contributed at least 3% of Activision's net revenue in 2021 as a significant driver of future growth. Really, it's that last line, that last part there that's important. It accounted for over 400 million in esports revenue last year and more than 400 million fans. You don't want to break that conditioning, but that said, and when this kind of happened, when they were talking, doing like sort of investor-facing communications, they were really trying to play down the financial. Just like the financial role, the financial impact. So basically, we're at this stage of who knows? We have the very obvious examples there. Now, would Blizzard be able to go to China just themselves? I wouldn't really think so. Now, some companies like Tesla have been able to property set up, not through a licensing agreement, but that's pretty rare. Like the thing with Tesla, I think is likely. China just wanting more and more and more domestic EV stuff to build up that manufacturing base, right? So to get the skilled workers in what they are probably seeing as a large future growth area that they want to be a major player in.
Yeah, that'll.
But I don't think they would do that with Blizzard.
Yeah, it'll not apply very much for game publishing because that'll be a very small development to adjust the game. If that's not all just done at Blizzard themselves anyway, and then publishing. So maybe if you wanted to build a studio and build a load of developers, maybe they'd say, "Oh yeah, sure, go ahead." But if they're just going, can we sell our Western product to your people and funnel all the money back over? They'll go, no, that's not allowed.
Yeah.
So it leaves them in a pretty bad spot, I think.
Yeah, this is a big L for Blizz. I mean, at the very least, it just means that all of these like millions of players who have been playing these Blizzard titles, like, the pattern has stopped. So they're going to go to like other international or perhaps domestic alternatives. And that'll be that. So, like, that's it. There's no more analysis to do. You've broken the conditioning. You have broken the habit. That is, like, especially with Blizzard games, which are all, like, designed to be 10,000-hour games. Like, if you break people out, you fucked it. Yeah. Unless you're able to splash back onto the scene and, you know, engage in major, like, I don't know, deals or whatever to get people back in. But no, man, this is just a big L.
Especially in a market that's so crowded with games that want to be 10,000 hours and take up your entire time. World of Warcraft is a pretty unique beast. But I think if people try other games, they will realize that they, not necessarily say that they're better, but that they'll do a better job of keeping your attention, especially in a market that's, I guess, more used to and more trained to the kind of games that we look at and go, oh god, that's very predatory. But that's a market that's kind of grown up a little bit with those games a little bit more. So they're going to be more used to them. They're going to have Terrasland. They'll be like, Terrasland, if it turns out great, they'll play that instead of World of Warcraft. Not all of them, of course, because you can't just say that about audiences. There will be differences in them. But you'll have some dedicated players will be able to VPN. But that'll be the more, I guess, the newer kind of player. The kind of player that likes the seasonal rotation of World of Warcraft a little bit more. Goes for like the gameplay thing, in the way that some people play World of Warcraft like an old school MMO, where it's like, this is my character, this is all my investment, and some play it like, oh, this is like, I'm coming back for a PoE season, or like a hardcore Diablo kind of season, just to roll a character and see how it goes. So I think some of those might end up on other servers, but I think for the old school long-term MMO, they've just shot themselves in the foot. And I'm surprised to see, because there's no two ways of looking at this. This is just a massive business deal fumble.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It is, you did business bad with international partners. That's crazy.
I think, you know, they took a bet, and every time you take a bet, you know, you do so with your own idea of like the risk spread at the time. Evidently, like, there was always a chance that it would not go well, and they obviously didn't believe that was likely, but it is what came to pass.
Yep.
So that's essentially that. We'll keep you up to date in this one. Definitely big L. I would love it if some of the World of Warcraft mobile MMO stuff leaked, though. Just because I would really like to know when they were going to set it and what the hell it was going to entail.
That'd be fun.
You know, and would it be some weird thing where we get to see the corpse of Deckard Cain sell you legendary gems? So yeah, I don't know, man, but pretty damn rough. Okay, that's it for today. Check out our sponsor. They're really awesome. Help support the channel. And with that, you can check out the other videos we've been doing, and I'll see you next time.